Hi guys, and welcome back to another DrAce video, and today we're going to be playing Ride 5, and today's video is going to be all about Cadwell Park. I'm going to give you the best possible guide I can to help you guys improve your lap times here in the very tight and twisty sections of Cadwell Park. To the right hand side of your screen is my controller overlay. For reference, I am using a PS5 DualSense controller on PC, but I am showing you the PS4 controller overlay as I just think it's a better, clearer visual for the triggers and everything else. So first things first, this is the Yamaha R1 and it has been fully upgraded to tackle Cadwell Park. Now of course there's a lot of different versions you can use for bikes in this game, but I'm going to show you a good solid 1000cc from the Yamaha from 1998. So let's get into the basics. This is going to be probably my strongest lap. I'm going to really go for it here in Cadwell, and the rest of the laps I want to sort of take my time and show you the basics of each and every corner. So to the right hand side of your screen, as I mentioned already, that is my controller overlay, as the usual things are. The acceleration is the right trigger, and the front brake is the left trigger, square being the rear brake, triangle being the upshift, and R1 being the downshifts. Now if you want a reference on all my controllers, overlay or guide, check in the description box down below. Now the beauty of Cadwell Park, it is a very tight and twisty sections of circuit which is very difficult. It's not a track you need to be aggressive, and not a track that you need to be going full throttle at. A lot of these corners will be gentle braking and manoeuvring the bike early rather than too late. So into turn 1, push backwards on left analog stick and into the left hand side. That helps to push the rider's way into the back of the R1 to stop it from doing a stoppie. And now into the right hand side, very gentle upon the acceleration. Look how much acceleration is applied for Charlie's 2 there, just a small amount. So just enough acceleration just to get the bike from going into that neutral position, just enough to move into Charlie's 2 and then go onto the long straight for the park corner, which is this one here in turn 5. So something I want to explain to you as well is something I tend to do, especially for corners like here in the Chris curve. You may find yourself in Ride 5 just understeering ever so slightly. You just can't seem to turn the bike in where you need to be going. If you're suffering from that problem, the great tip and advice I can give you is to use a little bit of front brake. It just closes that gap down just enough to get you back onto acceleration. You may lose a bit of time, but it's very helpful and handy to know that if you want to just close the gap a little bit more, use a bit of front brake. It does help a lot, and in the corners like these ones and the difficult tight corners here in Cadwell Park, they do have a good advantage. So into the right hand side here, just a small amount of brake, quick change of direction, small amount of brake again, and now to the right and back to the left hand side for back onto the brakes once more. Now something I always will reiterate whenever I do these videos is my braking style will be different to yours, or you may have the same style as me. I'm a very gentle, light braker. I don't go particularly too aggressive unless it's a straight line braking. So here into turn 1, just a short impressive brake, and then reduce the brake completely so it's only just a small amount. The prime example, of course, is coming into turn 4, which is after this long straight. Opportunity is a perfect one to start braking on the first braking point here. There it is on the left hand side, start braking there. You cannot go wrong into the park corner if you use that as your guide when using a 1000cc motorcycle. So now into the change direction, which is quite possibly the most difficult part, second difficult compared to the mountain. You want to be turning in early for the gooseneck, and all of these corners here in Cadwell Park, you must remember that these bikes are bikes. They're not cars, and you cannot handle them like a car. So when you're going into a corner, you cannot leave the turning to the very last second. You need to be braking earlier and turning earlier. So if you're not familiar with bikes and this is a very difficult circuit for you because you're used to cars, turn in earlier, brake earlier, and just appreciate that there is 2 wheels and not 4. I do find that this is one of the biggest difficulties that players will have when they come to a circuit as difficult as Cadwell Park. So bear that in mind, it will help. And of course, as we now go into the right hand side for the barn corner, nice and tight to the apex, waiting for the moment for centre, bring on the acceleration. So across the line, still not improving my lap times, but this is not about my lap times, this is about showing you the best way to tackle Cadwell Park consistently. So into the right hand side, down into second gear, we'll bring on the power, stay in second gear. You can drop to first here, but I wouldn't really recommend it. You can force too much power going into the rear of the R1 and you might have a slide or a spin as you bring on the power coming out of Charlie's 2. Once again, braking at the same point, a lot of front brake all the way towards the apex, and even a bit of rear brake just to help you slow down. Now, a question I frequently get is how often should I use the rear brake? And I'll be honest with you, only really straight line braking. I would do maybe a tap once or twice in certain corners, but the majority of the time, such as going here into the Mansfield corner, just enough of a little tap of a rear brake, and towards the latter stage of the corner, a bit of rear brake just to help close the gap as well. But not every single corner needs full rear brake. You quite honestly get away with just a couple of taps, because of course the input of being on square button, it's a singular linear input rather than a press and a gradual press. So your analog triggers where you can go half front brake, you can't really do it with the square button. You may want to try it out with different ideas, but for me, square button works very, very well. So into the barn corner again, still not a particularly strong lap time, but we're good going into the final sector and then into the long straight. So across the line, let's see this one more time. Into the left hand side, brake well before the shadow, move over to the middle of the circuit and turn here as you get to that second braking marker. If you're carrying the right speed there, you'll go nice and tight or a little bit wide, either or, depending on what speed you're carrying, and it'll be enough for you to tackle Charlie's 1 and then in turn Charlie's 2. So now onto the straight, brakes approaching again, there it is, there's a marker, start braking in, couple of taps from the rear brake there all the way to the apex of turn 4, bring on the power, then use a bit of front brake just to slow the motorcycle into Chris curve, again gentle on acceleration, only until you're really happy with the acceleration, then you can start throwing in a bit more. But for now, good throttle, going into the change direction for the gooseneck, brake nice and early here. For some reason my rider has a weird animation when I push backwards on the brakes there. It's only recently started doing this in Ride 5, but I would recommend doing the forwards and backwards analog stick maneuvers. You don't need to, but it's something that I am very fond of doing. I use it in MotoGP, Superbike, TT Isle of Man, and here in Ride 5 as well. And the reason why I push backwards on the analog stick is to push the rider's weight into the back of the bike, keep the rear wheel on the ground, and it just also allows you to move the analog stick in a smoother fashion. Because if you're pushing against the plastic of the controller, you can't go any further. So if you're already pushing and using that as a guide, when you gradually turn the analog stick, it's in a very controlled manner. Trust me, it does work. It works for me, but you don't have to use it. It's entirely up to you. As I mentioned earlier, everyone has a different style. Now you may also notice that coming out of the corners, I do push forwards on the analog stick as well. That is to ensure that the front wheel doesn't lift. So for the same as the rear wheel when we're under braking, we're doing the same for the front. We don't want to accelerate too aggressively and have the front wheel lifting into the air. Now regarding electronics, I think I'm running TCS 0, anti-wheelie 1, ABS 0 and engine brake on 4. Now I strongly advise against using ABS. I would always turn that off. I turned it off for my braking guide and I will never turn it back on. But if regarding the traction control, that's entirely up to you. You can decide what works best for you. For me it's 0. I have to have a very gentle press. I don't want to be pressing quite aggressively just to get the wheel spinning. I like just a small amount is good enough for me. So now into the tight apex of turn 11, then into the mount of the turn 12. Nice big wheelie, but it's a very difficult corner to get right here in the mountain because unfortunately it's a bit sporadic. I've hit the same corner every single time in practice, and the results can be very, very different. So it's not as consistent as it was in Ride 4, so I would practice the mounting quite a lot, more than any other part here in Cadwell Park, but I will focus on that for the next lap. So down by 3/10 back into the 128s, turning into the left hand side for turn 1. I'm going to stay in third gear for now, but downshift to second as we get the change of direction into 2. Run it a little bit deep here for Charlie's 2, and then bring it back in nice and smooth to bring on the power for turn 3. As we now charge down the somewhat of a straight, we'll look over to the left hand side, keep an eye on that first braking point, start braking, a little bit of rear brake in there as well as we gradually turn into the park corner. A little bit wide there, should be braking a little bit earlier than I have been doing if I'm honest with you, but all we use is that front braking marker as a guide to help you get the park corner correct. And now a quick change direction into the gooseneck, very positive movements of turning in nice and early. The rider has his small weird animation there on the brakes. strong on acceleration, then braking early at that shadow to go for the tight apex of turn 9, quick change direction into turn 10, and brake well before this braking marker here for the left-hand side for turn 11. Keep the bike in the middle, turn early, nice and gentle on the power, and get into the middle of the mountain. If you go too far to either side, then bad things will happen. It's just made a mess going into the whole bend, so my apologies for messing up this lap time. I think this would have been a decent lap as well, actually, so that's a bit of a shame, and messing it up into the hairpin is probably going to lose us even more time. So one more attempt then, let's say, guys and gals. I hope so far this video has been helpful. If it has, let me know in the comments section down below. And of course, let's make this one count. So into the left, stay in third gear, wait for the change direction. There it is, change down to second gear. Move over to the middle of the circuit. You can run it wide here and then go for the nice tight apex again. Just had to make a small correction. Felt like I was going to touch the inside of the apex there, but we're good. Now charging on the power. Keep a look to the left hand side. There is the marker. Start braking in. Downshifting all the way down to first gear. Keep it into turn 4. And then bring on your power once again. A little bit of front brake to close the gap into Chris curve. Back onto the power. Smooth acceleration, smooth delivery until we get to the right hand side for the gooseneck. Fast change direction as you exit the first entry of point of the gooseneck. Brake here early. Ignore the weird animation. Went a little bit too early that time around, but it's okay. There's the shadow on your right. Start braking there. Bring it into turn 9. Quick change direction into turn 10. Beautifully done. And then keep an eye on that braking marker here. Bang on the brakes. Into the middle. Turn early. Keep in, keep in, keep in. There I went for the wider angle and actually didn't seem too bad. But as I say, it's very inconsistent if you're not careful. So quick change direction into second gear. Fast change of pace. And the second you turn here to the left, start braking. Brake in nice and early. Use all of the power on the front brake in the rear. And get that bike stopped. And now brake early in for the tight apex of barn. Keep it in as tight as you possibly can. Bring on the power. And get across the line to complete the lap times here today. So there you are then, guys. That is Cadwell Park here in Ride 5 with the Yamaha R1 from 1998. If this video has been helpful, let me know in the comments section down below. And if you want to see more like this, be sure to hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching. See you in tomorrow's video. Ciao for now. Oh hi, didn't quite see you there. Good to see you're still here. If this video didn't quite set your appetite, then why not watch some more DrAce content by clicking the video shown on screen now. Furthermore, if you would like to follow me on social media, you can do so now with the links down in the description. Consider subscribing so you don't miss a single DrAce video.